Feeling ashamed about your sexuality? The truth is, shame isn't the problem, but what you've been taught about sex is. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Holly, sex and relationship therapist, and today we're talking about what it really means to be sexually liberated and how to start that journey towards sexual liberation, especially if you've dealt with shame, trauma, or just plain confusion about sex. If you've ever felt shame about your sexuality or sexual interests, know that you are not alone. In fact, today's video is inspired by a really thoughtful question from one of you in the comments who asked, "What should I do if I want to become sexually liberated?" For context, I'm a Christian and I'm 20, and I've always been super repressed when it comes to sex. It makes me feel guilt and shame, as well as some of my kinks. I've been interested in sexual liberation for a while, but don't know what to do. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever felt conflicted about your desires or ashamed about your sexuality, this video is for you. We're going to be talking about what sexual liberation actually is, how shame and repression show up in the body, and ways to start healing and feeling more like your authentic sexual self. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with what sexual liberation isn't. It's not about being loud, wild, kinky, or down for anything. It's not about sleeping with a bunch of different people or adopting some fantasy version of confidence. And it's definitely not about performing your sexuality for other people. Sexual liberation means feeling safe, connected, and free inside your own body. It's all about owning your own desires without shame, saying no without guilt, and saying yes because you want to, not because you feel like you have to or because you should. Now, if you were raised in a religious or purity-based environment like the person who wrote this comment, that kind of freedom might feel almost impossible. You might feel torn between what you believe and what you feel, or between what you were taught and what you're curious about. But here's what I want you to hear clearly. You are not broken, you are not wrong, and you are not alone. Let's talk about why this feels so hard, especially if, like this commenter, you're in your early 20s and just starting to make sense of your own experiences of sex and sexuality. Many of us grow up learning negative beliefs like sex is dangerous, sinful, or only okay under certain specific conditions. And when we do feel desire or have a kink or even a simple fantasy, we feel ashamed. We shut it down, we internalize it, and over time, that shame doesn't just affect our thoughts, but it affects our body and our relationships and even our ability to feel pleasure. You see, the guilt and shame aren't just about the thoughts, but they're felt experiences that live in our bodies. That tightness in your chest when you think about sex, that stomach drop when someone mentions your kink, that urge to hide or change the subject when someone brings up talking about sex. That's our nervous system responding to those years of programming that's taught us it's not okay to think about, much less talk about these sorts of things. So contrary to what some might believe, sexual liberation isn't really about learning new things or trying new things. It's really about unlearning old things, and at your own pace and with a lot of care and curiosity. With that in mind, here are 5 steps that I recommend as a therapist for anyone who wants to begin that journey towards sexual liberation, especially if you're coming from a background that didn't give you permission to explore. Step 1, start with your body. Now, you don't have to start by exploring sex or sexual practices themselves, but start with connection to your own body. Gentle embodied practices like breath work, meditation, or simply holding your hand over your heart can really start to rebuild that connection to your body and presence, which is really the important foundation for any and all sexual experiences. Step 2 is to look at your sexual story without judgment. Write it down and ask yourself questions like, what was I taught about sex growing up? What parts of that story still feel true? And what no longer fits? You might be surprised at what comes up, and the goal here isn't necessarily to change those beliefs overnight, but it's to really better understand where the feelings of guilt and shame or fear come from, so that way you can meet them with a sense of curiosity, and then slowly over time maybe decide for yourself which of those beliefs still fit or feel true to you, and what other beliefs or what other thoughts about sex and sexuality might feel more authentic to who you are at your core. And if you are someone who wants to better understand their own sexual story, I have a little prompt that I'll give for you for free in the link below, where you can explore your own sexual history and background and make sense of where some of these beliefs come from. Step 3, give yourself permission to explore without pressure. That might mean listening to sex-positive podcasts, or reading books by people who've walked a similar path, or journaling about your fantasies with compassion instead of shame. Exploration doesn't have to mean action. Remember, even just saying, "I'm allowed to be curious," is a really powerful step in becoming more sexually liberated. Step 4, and this is so important, learn how to set boundaries even with yourself. Sometimes liberation means saying no to things you've always said yes to, and other times it means saying yes to things you've never allowed yourself to want. This setting boundaries allows you to really practice tuning into what feels right for you. And know that this may take some time to build that muscle, especially if your yeses and nos have previously been shaped by fear, shame, or people pleasing. Step 5, find support that honors your journey. Whether that's with a sex-positive therapist like myself, or through online communities where people talk about deconstructing purity culture and healing sexual shame. Finding these places that allow you to ask questions and speak freely is really an integral part in healing from past sexual shame and honoring your own feelings about sex and sexuality, thus becoming more sexually liberated. In addition, there are a lot of great resources and sex therapists specifically who focus on sex therapy in the Christian religion or in the Islamic religion or even the Mormon religion, and healing from purity culture as they think about sex. And a good way to look for that is through the ASECT directory, which I can link for you below as well. So if you are struggling with sexual shame and healing from purity culture, here is something that I really, really want you to feel and not just hear. Your desire is not dangerous, your curiosity is not a problem, and your body is not shameful. You can be Christian and curious, you can honor your values, and explore what pleasure means to you. You don't have to choose between faith and freedom. This isn't about rejecting everything you believed, rather it's about making space for the full truth of who you are. That includes your body, your boundaries, your wants, and your voice. So here's what we've covered. Sexual liberation isn't about being someone else's version of free or sexual. It's about getting honest about what that sexual freedom looks like for you. That might mean letting go of shame. It might be getting curious about kinks instead of hiding them. It might mean learning how to feel safe in your body for the very first time. Wherever you are, know that it's okay and your journey is all your own. Please don't compare yourself and your experience of sex and sexuality to anybody else's, because this is your unique journey. Thanks so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, know that there are lots more resources and videos on sex and sexuality on my channel, so feel free to check those out. Also, if you have any questions or things that you'd like for me to cover in a future video, please do comment below, as I love to hear from you. Until next time, remember that you deserve a healthy, happy, and pleasurable life.